Should there be limits on freedom of speech on social media platforms? When acts, assessing the current state of the social media, I think yes, there should be some limit to what kind of conversation you can have on these online platform. Well, I would say that, for instance, right, if a citizens of a country criticize his or her own government for their incompetence and other sort of problems, I think that should be encouraged. Not only that it empower uh, people, but it also brings a lot of problems to the light, which is a good thing. However, nowadays, what I see is that people seems to just they seems to say what they want to say. What I mean by that is they write about problems and they talk about matters that isn't true. So, in a in certain extents, not only are they spreading misleading information, but also a very like one-sided kind of opinion, which sometimes can even lead to severe consequences as these kind of people can start a movement or start a kind of more like violent movement. That's what I'm trying to say. And moreover, because social media, the users of the social media are varied in terms of age group, it is inappropriate for, let's say, adult, like like a transgender person to started posting about some sexuality and those things down the line to children and try to encourage them to embrace or learn about this kind of stuff, which I wholeheartedly disagree. So there's that. Should homeschooling be banned in favor of standardized public education? Uh, well, the thing is that homeschooling is very, let's just say, controversial, at least, because while I do agree that not every person, not everyone is fit for standardized academic environment, and they should be developed naturally. I just feel that homeschooling has way too many problems. So, for example, it might be a way for like helicopter parents, strict parents to monitor their children, and even in some very special and um, like special situation, these parents can instill misleading and distort information to their children, which give them a twisted sense of reality. So that's only one thing. And in addition, because homeschooling is, I mean, as the name suggests, you are staying at home instead of going through any um, like public or private school, doesn't matter, which means that a homeschool person have to have a very different approach to their career and the way they climb the career ladder because they lack actual like sanction certification or degree which in this modern world is uh, a very it's an important element uh, like in this modern world is one of the most important element for a person to get a well-paid job in society. So while I wouldn't say that it should be abolished, I don't really like encourage homeschooling just because of the amount of drawbacks that it have. However, every people should have their freedom, and not everyone is suited for standardized public education. So that's kind of my point. So no, not really. Is it justified for governments to enforce population control measure to combat climate change? Um, uh, Again, there is a very uh, it's a it's a very hard question. So I might need some times to evaluate it, right? Right. So as you know, uh, in our contemporary society, overpopulation has become a huge problems. Not only does it put a toll on the the on supply uh, on supply chain and economy, uh, world economy, stuff like that. But it also increase the existing. It's also like kind of add on to its existing problems like world hunger, especially in developing countries where having more than two children is a pretty commonplace. So honestly, I might sound a bit dictative, kinda, but in my opinion, yes, the parliament should have some measure to uh, deter overpopulation, not only to combat climate change, but also to, but also uh, try to improve existing problems like I said before, world hunger or uh, housing problem especially. And to be fair though, it's not like the measures at the moment is are too cruel or immoral. Like for example, in Vietnam, uh, we used to have a children policy, I believe. Which I mean, when you look at the grand scheme of thing, it isn't that bad because I mean most of the population that makes up most people that makes up the Vietnam population are either middle class or more blue collar workers, farmers. So having more children would mean that not only it is very economy unsustainable, but as I say, it took a heavy toll on the country economy and put a lot of stress, and therefore other new problems emerge, like uh, like widespread poverty and murder, gang violence, stuff like that. There's a lot of things to take into account. So I wouldn't. So I would say that for the most part, it is somewhat justifiable, because while it does seems like a huge limitation to families who especially wants a lot of descendants. However, um, uh, uh, um, when I put my perspective into the view of the higher ups, the governments, I can see that it will benefit the nation, a nation in a long term. So I would ag- I would have to agree with this. Should the consumption of meat be heavily taxed to reduce environmental damage? Uh, well, honestly, I don't agree with this statement at all. The thing that I see a lot of environmentalists and vegan are like debating, well, just talking about in general, is that people should stop eat meat. But what they don't see is the potential damage it this action can have has on a large portion of the societies. I mean, meat in general, an average human can live without meat, because there are other substitute, and like nuts and other vegetable uh, does offer the same kind of nutrition, but it would means that a lot of a profession and sectors, economy producing factors has to be uh, eradicated, like farmers, especially cattle oriented farm, uh, meat producer, a butcher. I mean, even like fast food restaurant who are heavily rely on meat have to either change their way or being completely irrelevant, right? Or outright uh, illegal, not really, but getting irrelevant because of this, because of the amount of tax that uh, government the government put on them, which will damage a country economy stage, and can have potential economy can lead to potential economic crisis if left unchecked. So what I would suggest is that to reduce environmental damage via taxation, I would say that taxing on uh, individual transportation and littering would be would be a better solution, because I mean when you compare it to like meat production and transportation, it doesn't accumulate as much carbon footprints as say like 10,000 cars running around the streets, right? So that's just my point. I don't agree with putting even more tax into the meat industry, but rather find other solution. Well, full taxation in this context, which not only will make greater impact, but also a lot more sufficient. So there's that. Is nuclear energy a sustainable solution for the future despite its potential risk? Well, I can see nuclear energy being an ubiquitous source of energy in the future, but not any near future at all. In fact, I would say that it's has to be at least like a century later, because looking at the state of nuclear energy right now, while a lot of nuclear plant, like modern nuclear plant, are a lot safer than say that in that of Chernobyl, uh, the two nuclear plants in Chernobyl, it still have inherent danger, and on top of that, currently we you know we don't have the scientists, so doesn't haven't find a way to to make the most out of this nuclear source of energy. They waste a lot, and the outcome, the kind of output is relatively unstable, to say the least, and it's not applicable to a wide range of country. From what I've learned, in only like very developed country have access or even put this kind of energy into use. However, they are indeed uh, sustainable in the sense that you don't need a tons of this nuclear core source of energy to benefit from it. So like if we take coal, you will need like million tons to run a city for a few months, for example. For nuclear energy, it's like about like 100 kilograms or so, and so because of its huge amount of condensed energy, I say that it's a very good solution uh, to the future.